Hal looked up at the sky. Ruth Tells the Truth by Mark Heaton. Ruth wanted a drink. She needed a cup. She saw her brother's cup. "I'll use Dan's cup," she said. Ruth filled Dan's cup with water. She put the cup down. The cup fell off the table. Crash! It broke into many pieces. "Oh no! Dan loves that cup," said Ruth. "I will hide the pieces." Ruth put the pieces behind a chair. "He will never know," said Ruth. Dan came into the kitchen. "I need some water," said Dan. "Oh no," said Ruth. Dan looked for his cup. "Ruth, have you seen my cup?" asked Dan. "No, I have not seen it," said Ruth. "Where did it go?" asked Dan. He asked Dad and Grandpa. They had not seen the cup. Dan looked around the house. He looked behind the chair. "My cup is broken," he said. "Who broke my cup?" "Ruth, do you know who broke my cup?" asked Dan. "Maybe a big bird came in the window," said Ruth. "It dropped the cup on the floor." "I don't think so," said Dan. "Maybe a bear came in the kitchen," said Ruth. "It dropped the cup on the floor." "I don't think so," said Dan. "Maybe a monkey came in the kitchen," said Ruth. "It dropped the cup on the floor." "I don't think so," said Dan. "Ruth, tell the truth," said Dan. "I don't want to tell the truth," said Ruth. "Why not?" asked Dan. "You will be mad at me," said Ruth. "I will not be mad," said Dan. "I just want to know why my cup is broken." "Okay," said Ruth. "I will tell you." Ruth told Dan the truth. "That's okay, Ruth," said Dan. "Everyone makes mistakes." "Are you mad at me?" asked Ruth. "I am happy you told the truth," said Dan. "I am not mad at you." Ruth and Dan made popcorn. Ruth got Grandpa's bowl. Crash! "Oh no," said Ruth. "Now I'll have to tell Grandpa the truth too." The Super Sandwich by Lynn George. The people on Maple Street had a party. Everyone who lives on Maple Street was there. Everyone had a good time. There were balloons everywhere. The children played ball. A band played music. Everyone brought food to the party. "Here are green peas," said Mrs. Bell. "Here is a salad," said Mr. Smith. Mr. Jones said, "Here is some corn." Mrs. Chin said, "Here is a cake." "Here is ice cream," said Mr. Allen. "We are going to make a huge sandwich," said Tina. "It will be big enough for everyone to eat." "Here is the bread," said Sarah. "Mrs. Lee baked this bread just for us." "That is a lot of bread," said Tom. "We are going to make a huge sandwich," said Sarah. "We must cut the bread," said Mrs. Lee. She cut and cut and cut. At last the bread was ready. Tom said, "Now we put on turkey." They put on big pieces of turkey. They put on small pieces of turkey. "Let's put on cheese," said Sarah. They put on yellow cheese. They put on orange cheese. They put on cheese with holes in it. "Let's put on apples," Tina said. They put on red apples. They put on green apples. They put on yellow apples. Carlos said, "Let's put on tomatoes." They put on green tomatoes. They put on red tomatoes. They put on yellow tomatoes. Mike said, "Let's put on pickles." They put on big pickles. They put on small pickles. They put on lots of pickles. "Let's put on lettuce," said Tom. They put on green lettuce. They put on red lettuce. They put on lots and lots of lettuce. "Let's put on the top piece of bread," said Sarah. Everyone helped. "Our sandwich is ready," said Tina. Tom said, "That's the biggest sandwich I've ever seen." Now we can eat our big sandwich, said Tina. Come and eat, called Carlos. Everyone ate and ate. The sandwich tasted super. My Hero by Declan Parnell. Daniel is Haitian American. His family emigrated from Haiti before Daniel was born. Now they live in the United States. Daniel's hero is his older sister, Natasha. Natasha is the first of the family to go to college. She is an engineer. She builds tall buildings. On her days off, she builds homes for hurricane victims. Today, Daniel is going to work with Natasha. They are fixing a home for a family in need. Daniel is excited to help this family. Daniel puts on a hard hat. This will protect him at the construction site. He looks at the blueprints. Natasha tells him that blueprints are maps to help her build homes. Daniel volunteers to be Natasha's assistant. It is his first time at a construction site. A construction site is where people build houses and buildings. There is a lot of equipment and tools. Natasha tells Daniel that every family deserves a home. Their parents worked hard to build a life in the United States. Natasha used her parents as inspiration to study hard. Daniel looks up to his family. Natasha tells the volunteers what to do. She makes sure everything goes right. All the walls are built. They are ready for the next step. Daniel is proud of her hard work. Next, they can start to paint. Daniel picks the color. They wear gloves and masks. Everyone does his or her best. The house will be perfect for the new family. The house is finished. Daniel adds one last thing. He makes a sign that says, "Home, Sweet Home." It is a nice gift for the new family. Natasha, Daniel, and the team meet the new family. The family is thankful for good people like Natasha and Daniel. They love the home that was rebuilt for them. Daniel is proud of his sister. She is his hero. She is kind and makes a difference in people's lives. Daniel wants to grow up and help people too. I See a Horse by Abigail Richter. Tara and her friends were playing ball in the park. I need a rest, said Tara. Me too, said Meg. Everyone sat down in the grass. Hal looked up at the sky. Look at all the clouds, said Hal. There are so many of them, said Meg. They lay down on the grass. The children looked up at the clouds. The clouds were white and fluffy. The clouds were high in the sky. I see a horse, said Tara. The other children sat up and looked around the park. Where? They asked. We don't see a horse. Look at the clouds, said Tara. Tara pointed at the sky. I see a cloud that looks like a horse. Her friends looked for the horse in the sky. Vin looked at the sky. Where is it? Asked Vin. It's right there, said Tara. Now I see it, said Meg. I still can't see it, said Vin. I just see a dog. Vin pointed at the sky. I think we are looking at the same cloud, said Tara. I see a rocket, said Hal. Where? Asked the other children. There, said Hal. Hal pointed to a cloud in the sky. What do you see, Meg? Asked Tara. Meg looked at the clouds. I see a guitar, said Meg. I see it too, said Tara. Where's the guitar? Asked Vin. Up there, said Meg. Meg pointed at a cloud. I see it now, said Vin. That cloud looks like an octopus, said Hal. Wow, said Tara. It does. I see it too, said Meg. I see a birthday cake, said Vin. That cloud looks like a fish, said Meg. That one looks like a dragon, said Hal. I see a tree, said Tara. Where did the horse go? Asked Tara. No one could find the horse. Maybe it ran away, said Vin. You're silly, Vin, said Tara. It's gone, said Meg. You're right, said Hal. The rocket is gone too. Maybe it went to the moon, said Vin. Everyone laughed at Vin. It's fun to look at the clouds, said Tara. But let's play ball again. Okay, said Hal. We can look at the clouds another day.
King of the Swamp by Carrie O'Donnell. A frog named Fred lived in the swamp. Fred's brothers lived in the swamp too. Fred and his brothers jumped and played. Fred and his brothers liked to play tricks. They played tricks on Sam the snake. Sam did not like their tricks. "Stop that," said Sam. They played tricks on Tina the turtle. Tina did not like their tricks. "That's not nice," said Tina. Fred and his brothers kept playing tricks. They played tricks on Dee the deer. Dee did not like their tricks. "You scared me," said Dee. Fred and his brothers laughed and laughed. Ron the rabbit hopped by. Fred jumped out and took his glasses. "My glasses," said Ron the rabbit. "Give them back." Al the alligator walked by. Fred and his brothers did not play tricks on him. They were scared of his big sharp teeth. "It's not nice to play tricks," said Al the alligator. He showed them his big sharp teeth. "Be good little frogs and stop playing tricks." Fred was mad. "I will play tricks if I want to," said Fred. "I am king of the swamp." Fred wanted to look like a king. He got a crown. He got a robe, too. "Now I look like a king," said Fred. Fred and his brothers played more tricks on Sam the snake. They played more tricks on Tina the turtle, too. "A king can play tricks," said Fred, "and I am the king." They played more tricks on Dee the deer. They played more tricks on Ron the rabbit. "Fred, you are not the king," said Dee and Ron. Fred and his brothers kept playing tricks. Al the alligator called together all the animals in the swamp. "Fred and his brothers are silly frogs," he said. "They will not play tricks any more." The animals made a plan. The animals sent a card to Fred and his brothers. "Look, a party for me," Fred said. "A party for the king of the swamp." Fred wore his crown and his robe to the party. All the animals at the party had crowns and robes, too. They all looked like kings and queens of the swamp. "Surprise!" they all said. "We are all the same here in the swamp," said Al. "We are all kings and queens. We are all nice to each other." Fred felt bad. "I'm sorry for playing tricks," said Fred. Tara Takes the Train by Marcus Figueredo. Tara and Mom were taking a trip. They were going to see Aunt Carol. They were going on the train. "I can't wait to see Aunt Carol," said Tara. Tara and Mom got ready. Tara packed her suitcase. Mom packed her suitcase. "Are you ready?" asked Mom. "Let's go," said Tara. Tara and Mom walked to the train station. Mom looked for the train. "Look at all the people," said Tara. There were many people at the station. Some people were getting on trains. Some people were getting off trains. "Where are they going, Mom?" asked Tara. "I don't know," said Mom. "Let's go look for our train." Tara and Mom found their train. "Here is our train," said Mom. A man helped them with their suitcases. Tara and Mom got on the train. Tara and Mom found seats. Tara wanted to sit by the window. She wanted to see all the things they were going to pass along the way. The train started with a bump. "We're moving," said Tara. The train left the station. Tara looked out the window. The train went down a hill. Soon it was dark outside. "What's happening, Mom?" asked Tara. "We are in a tunnel," said Mom. "The tunnel goes under a river." Soon the train came out of the tunnel. Tara saw many buildings, cars, and people. "Look at all the cars," said Tara. The train went over a bridge. The bridge went over a river. Tara saw lots of boats. "Look at all the boats, Mom," said Tara. Soon Tara saw a town. The buildings were smaller than the ones in the city. Tara saw a fair. "That looks like fun," said Tara. The train passed many farms. Tara saw barns and tractors. She also saw animals. "Look, Mom," said Tara. "I see horses." Soon Tara saw lots of trees. Tara saw hills and lakes. She also saw a tiny cabin by a lake. I wonder who lives there, said Tara. Soon the train slowed down. The train came to another town. The train stopped at the station. Are we there already? Asked Tara. Yes, said Mom. We are getting off the train here. Tara and Mom got off the train. Hi, Aunt Carol, said Tara. The train was cool. You can tell me all about it when we get home, said Aunt Carol. I Can Share by Maria Nelson. What is sharing? Sharing is one part of having good manners. Someone who shares lets others use what they have. It shows they care about other people's feelings and needs. While sometimes sharing is hard, it can also be fun. The guest knows best. Emily invited Justin over to play with her new basketball and hoop. Emily liked to shoot baskets, but after she shot the ball once, she let Justin take a turn. Emily can share. Susie and Hannah were playing with Susie's stuffed animals. Hannah asked to play with Susie's favorite bear. Susie liked sharing the bear with Hannah. She wanted Hannah to have fun with a special toy. Help a friend. Zeke left his music book for school band practice at home. Zeke's friend Brian sat next to him during practice. Brian offered to let Zeke look at his music book. Brian can share. Becca thought Luca's book about dogs looked really cool. She asked if she could borrow it, and Luca said yes. She returned the book the next day. Borrowing and sharing are alike. Often, returning something is part of sharing, too. Sharing time. Anika planned to spend a whole afternoon with her Aunt Kathy. They had lunch and went to the park. Anika was sharing her time with her aunt. It helped show her aunt how much Anika cared. Jake and his family have often spent time volunteering at the local soup kitchen. They help make and serve food to people who were hungry. Sharing their time in this way made a difference to a lot of people. For those in need. Isabella had a lot of toys. When her class was collecting toys for needy children, she picked out some she didn't use anymore to donate. Sharing her old toys made Isabella feel really good. Another kind of sharing. Hannah and Dev each had a chore to do. They decided to help each other. They thought that by sharing the chores, they would be done faster. Learning to share responsibilities can make hard jobs easier and more fun.
The Life of Clara Barton. Kathleen Connors. Angel of Service. Clara Barton spent her life helping others. She was called the Angel of the Battlefield because of her great service during the Civil War. Clara's work is still important today. She founded the American Red Cross. Clara was born Clarissa Harlow Barton in 1821. Her birthday was Christmas Day. Clara lived with her parents, 2 older sisters, and 2 older brothers in Oxford, Massachusetts. Early work. Clara began teaching at 15. In 1852, she opened a school in New Jersey. Though she made the school a success, the next year they put a man in charge. Clara left to work in Washington, D.C. War breaks out. When the Civil War began in 1861, Clara volunteered right away. At first, she worked at hospitals in Washington, D.C. She also gathered supplies such as food, clothing, and medicine. Soon, Clara was on the battlefield. She worked in field hospitals, helping wounded soldiers. As the war continued, she traveled with the army. She organized the medical supplies and found missing soldiers. The Red Cross. Clara went to Europe after the war ended. There she met with the International Red Cross, a group that helps people affected by war. They had heard about her great work on the battlefield. Clara and the International Red Cross worked for better conditions for prisoners of war. They wanted wounded or sick soldiers to be allowed care during wartime. Many countries signed an agreement stating these ideas. In 1881, Clara founded the American Association of the Red Cross. It would offer relief during war and in other times of need. In 1889, Clara and the Red Cross helped the people of Johnstown, Pennsylvania after a flood. Remembered today. Clara worked in the field with the Red Cross until she was 77 years old. She died at age 91 on April 12, 1912. Her work lives on in the good the Red Cross still does today.
The Life of Ben Franklin by Maria Nelson. Founding Father. Ben Franklin was one of the founding fathers of the United States of America. He helped the United States become the country it is today. Ben was a writer, a diplomat, and an inventor. Young life. Ben was born on January 17, 1706. He was one of 17 children. The family lived in Boston, Massachusetts. Ben didn't go to school for very long. He read a lot and taught himself to write as well. When Ben was 12 years old, he worked for his brother James. James was a printer who started a newspaper. Ben wrote essays for it. No one knew he wrote them. Ben moved to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania when he was 17. He worked as a printer. Then Ben went to London, England. He returned to Philadelphia in 1726. In 1730, he married Deborah Reed Rogers. Electricity. Ben had many interests. He opened the first library in Philadelphia and started a police force. Ben also studied electricity. He discovered many new things about it. His very unsafe experiment with a kite is famous. Public life. Ben respected the British government. He ran for public office during the 1740s and 1750s. However, by the 1760s, many colonists were angry with British laws. Ben wrote essays about the colonists' problems. In 1776, Ben helped write the Declaration of Independence. He was then sent to France. Ben was very popular there. He asked the French to help the colonists fight British rule. A new country. In 1783, the United States won its independence. Ben helped work out a peace agreement with England. Then he helped write the U.S. Constitution in 1787. It stated the new country's laws. Inventor. Ben died in 1790. However, his inventions live on. Ben invented many things, including a special kind of glasses and a stove. Today he's remembered for these and for helping shape the United States.
Cinderella, illustrated by Val Bureau. Once upon a time, there was a young girl named Cinderella. She lived with her stepmother and stepsisters, who made her their servant. One day an invitation came from the palace, inviting all in the town to the prince's ball. Cinderella's wicked stepmother said, "Servants don't attend balls." That night, as her stepmother and stepsisters left for the ball, wearing Cinderella's own jewels and dresses, she sat by the fire and cried. Just then, Cinderella's fairy godmother appeared. "Do not cry. You shall go to the ball." Cinderella did as her fairy godmother asked. She brought her a pumpkin, and with the swish of her wand, Fairy Godmother turned it into a carriage. Cinderella caught a rat, which, with a sprinkling of magic, became a grand horse. Lizards became footmen and a driver. In no time all was soon ready. "Just one more thing," said the Fairy Godmother. With a swish of her wand, Cinderella's rags turned into the most beautiful gown, and her hair was as a princess's hair. "Enjoy the ball, my dear, but remember, on the last stroke of midnight, the magic will end." At the palace, all the guests stared at Cinderella. Not even her stepsisters and stepmother recognized Cinderella. The prince danced with Cinderella all night. The stepsisters were jealous of the beautiful stranger. At the first stroke of midnight, Cinderella fled the palace. She had just left the palace when the magic disappeared and her rags returned. In her hurry to leave, Cinderella had dropped one of her glass slippers. The prince told his men to find the beautiful stranger whose foot fit the delicate shoe. All the women in the town lined up to try on the shoe. The stepsisters' feet were too fat or too bony. "Is there anyone else here?" asked the men. "Only our servant," replied the stepsisters. Cinderella was called. The shoe fit perfectly, of course. To everyone's surprise, she produced the matching shoe. Her fairy godmother waved her wand, and Cinderella was once again transformed. Her stepsisters begged forgiveness, and Cinderella did so, as she had a kind heart. The prince was overjoyed to have found Cinderella again, and they were married the next day. The stepsisters got married too, and they all lived happily ever after.